Welcome everyone to Bonifabcustom. Today we're going to be making trash can Damascus, or trash Damascus, I guess you can call it. Basically, we're going to be taking stuff that I would usually throw out or scrap, like some miscellaneous screws and some cutoffs of 15 and 20, and we're going to put it into a can, I call it the trash can, and we'll put in some 1084 powdered metal to fill in the gaps, put a lid on it, and then we'll put it on our forging press and see what we come out with. Let's get right into the build. So to start off, I'm gonna get the stuff I'm gonna use inside my trash can Damascus. And I have these 10/32 screws that I've been looking at for the past 10 years. So I'm gonna use those. And I have a bunch of offcuts of 15 and 20 that I'm gonna chop up and put inside the trash can Damascus also. Now, the problem with this stuff and the 15 and 20 that I have is that it is nickel plated, and so are these screws. And when you're forging together, the nickel doesn't like to bond with the other metals. So we need to clean this off. And the way that I do that is I use some basic white vinegar. And I'm gonna get myself a little glass container like this. And I'm gonna put in my screws, and I'll leave that overnight with the inside the vinegar, and I'll clean it off after about a day. And I'll do the same with my 15 and 20, and then they're gonna be almost ready to put into the trash can. Now that I have it all cleaned up with the vinegar, I then put it inside my little vibratory finisher, and I just cleaned off the dirt. It has like a stone media inside. So after it was done, it was really easy to take out or separate from the stone. I used a magnet, went inside there, pulled out all the screws and the metal, and now it's ready to put into my trash can Damascus. So we're gonna cut some 2-inch round stainless tube and some flat sheet, which I'm going to use for the bottom and the top of the trash can. And we're going to take that, weld the bottom up, and then start putting in our trash. Let's get into making the can. So I have my stainless cut, and this tube is a polished tube. It's 1/8 in thickness, wall thickness, and I cut a piece that's about 6 inches long. And then I cut some flat sheet stainless like this, and that's going to act as my bottom of my can and the top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to TIG weld the bottom first, and I have my 1084 powdered steel, and this is what's going to take up the gaps between the 15 and 20 and the screws, because the less amount of gaps we have, the better it is going to forge weld together, because there's no air inside the can. So this powder I use is very fine, just like a dust. And as I'm putting my parts inside, I'm going to be starting to put the powdered 1084, and I'll hit it every once in a while to make sure that I'm getting that 1084 in all those little crevices and gaps of the screws and the 15 and 20. So now we have the canister or a trash can filled with our bolts and the cutoffs of 5920 and then filled with our 1084. We're gonna get our forge nice and hot. We wanna make sure that it's over 2000 degrees, 2200, 2400 I like to have it at, and make sure the canister stays in there for quite some time to make sure that heat gets right inside all the way through. And then we're gonna forge weld it together. I'm gonna use my press and I'll forge weld it down. And once it's forge welded, I'm gonna cut the can off. Now, because it's stainless, it doesn't quite stick to or forge weld to the other materials. So in my experience, I really don't coat it with anything. I basically just knock it and then I'll cut off the can with a grinder. So let's start the forge and let's get the forge welding done. So that process was pretty long, but in the end, we can see we have a nice piece of forged metal, and it's gonna have a pattern in it, but we don't know what pattern it has yet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grind off and probably machine off the scale that's on here, and then I'm gonna give it a quick etch to take a look at what that trash can Damascus canister has, what kind of pattern it's made. So let's put this on the mill and take some of this scale off. So I put it on my mill and milled a lot of the scale off, and then I put it on my belt sander and kind of gave it a half decent finish so I can see what the pattern is. And you can see it right there, it looks pretty cool. That's the 15N20, and it's hard to see on the camera, but if you look closely, you can actually see the outline of some of the screws, which is pretty cool. So what I want to do now is, for the next video, I'm going to make a knife out of this, and then when I polish it up and then etch it properly, we're going to really see the outcome of that trash can Damascus. So thanks again for watching this experiment with the Canister Damascus, or as I call it, the Trash Mascus. And thank you for all your support, and don't forget to watch our next video when I make a knife from this type of Damascus. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you later on with another video.